If you want to have a better view on how the Bible looks at women in its proper context, then you should get these two books. Matriarchs of the Covenant, written by Abdil Ben Levi, popularly known as Zion Lexx. This is a masterpiece.
Shalom, shalom, peace, shalom to everybody in the building. If you guys can hear me, type of one in the room, let me know. As I say shalom to everybody in the building. If everybody can hear me, type a one in the room. Type of one in the room. We're gonna have some fun on this live. Was doing some studying last night. I was doing some reading this morning. Oh, we about to have some fun. We definitely about to have some fun. Shout out to everybody who is watching. Shout out to those of you who will be joining on soon. Much love to Abia, Benjamin. Much love to Christina. I see you. Much love to Ying Pint. Much love to my brother Moray Cam, Eved Yisrael, servant of Israel. That's right. Let's get it in. All right. So as people are coming in, I'm just gonna ask everybody, remind everybody, make sure guys that we are thumbing up the video. Make sure guys that we are sharing the live stream. Right. Make sure you're sharing the live stream. Thumb up the video and share the live stream. As you guys are sharing the live stream and thumbing up the video, just be aware that a lot of you aren't getting notifications. So for those of you who aren't getting notifications, make sure y'all hitting that bell, right? Make sure you're hitting the bell. Don't only like and subscribe, but make sure you hit the bell, get that notification so that you guys can see when I'm going live. All right, you don't want to miss when I'm going live. So make sure that you're not only subscribed to my channel, but make sure that you have that notification bell hit. All right, that don't take nothing but a little bit of effort. Like, subscribe, and make sure that that notification button is hit. So with that being said, guys, we have a rather interesting topic today. We're going to be looking at what's called the Oasphe Bible. Sonnet called me about, I want to say, probably 4 days ago now. And he told me, says, Zion Lexx, I got something for you. What you got for me, Son? Come on, what you got for me? Right? Sonnet always coming to me about a new debate. Some may garner interest. Most, I'm completely uninterested. And he'll tell you, I always keep it real. Like, no, Saw, that's not the one for me. I'm not interested. But he said to me that Captain Tazariak backed out of the debate with Silah Shalom, and the debate topic being the Oasphe Bible. And he said to me, brother, the Israelite community needs you, right? Everybody's running from this guy. Now he said, don't sleep on him, Zion, because I don't know you to sleep on nobody, but everybody's running from this guy. So I went on YouTube and I did a little deep dive. And I already knew who the brother was because the brother used to be on my Facebook page years ago. So I already know who the brother was, that's for sure. We don't know each other in person, but we have had dialogues online in the past, that's for sure. However, I never really went and did a deep dive into the things that he really teaches, right? I've said him say things on Facebook in the past that I definitely disagree with, and that's fine, right? I never went on his post and say, hey, brother, that's a crazy doctrine, right? I could believe that in my heart, but there's no need for me to say that to anybody, right? I believe to allow people to remain in their lanes. I believe that with enough access to good information that people will naturally change on their own. I don't believe in force feeding people knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. So I definitely never went on his page to say, hey, brother, that thing you wrote the other day was crazy. But I do vividly remember that there was definitely things that he would post on Facebook that was definitely not towards my taken, not towards my liking when it comes to understanding the Bible and the Torah. Nonetheless, I feel that people are entitled to their views, and he identified as an Israelite at that time. So I didn't feel the need to attack him, right? My concern was to deal with those who come for the Bible. And at that time, that wasn't his occupation. So he was cool. However, it has been brought to my attention that this is his newfound occupation, attacking the Bible. So I want to let him know real quick, if your newfound occupation is attacking the Bible, I'm your Huckabee. I'm your Huckleberry Finn, bro. I'm going to be that guy that's going to end your career. I'm going to let you know now. I'm going to let you know now. Like, you already know what I do. The community knows what I do. But I'm sure the fact that you accepted to debate with me, right? That you said to yourself, I ain't worried about Zion. I ain't worried about Zion. Let me tell you right now, brother, you in trouble. I'm a different type of Israelite. You see, when you debate an Israelite brother, and the topic is the Oasphe Bible, most Israelites are going to be doing this with you, right? They're going to be sharing their screen and they're going to be showing you PDFs. I don't know how familiar you are with me, my style of teaching, how I get down, but I'm not a PDF teacher. I'm old school. We got to have our hand on the actual book. We got to have our hands on the actual book. So I got the book. Woo! I got the book. And I got to tell you, as the title of this morning's live says, the strange theology of the Oasphe Bible, because it is deeply strange, deeply strange. And so while the brother has been allowed to run through Israelite people in the community, I heard he got chin checked a couple times. Shout out to Sister Naftali. I heard he got chin checked a couple times. Shout out to Sister Naftali. But apparently not enough to where he would like to okay, that's interesting. I didn't know that. Somebody's writing in the comments section that most of us, let me put this up really quick. Most of us, Zion, most of us blocked on HOK. The Oasphe people have a huge following. Of course, they have a huge following. And it's not even that they have a huge following. The people who don't like the Bible are now rocking with the Oasphe group simply because they're the newest people on the scene attacking the Bible. So it's not that they have a huge following, because none of these people don't really know what the hell the Oasphe Bible is. Very few of them actually read it and follow it. What it really is people are jumping on the I hate the Bible bandwagon and train. That's what's really happening. Right? That's what's really happening. So I went out, bought the book, and I automatically saw a lot of things in there that I want to say was definitely troubling. There were a lot of things that I went through the book and I saw that I said to myself, "Whoa, what's this about?" So I'm a very technical person when I speak. I'm a very tactful person, right? I may be one of the best tacticians in the community when it comes to peeling back layers of a person's doctrine and views. And so, just going through some of the early chapters and passages, I automatically had a problem with what I'm going to call the strange theology of the Oasphe Bible, right? I've heard some of the proponents of the Oasphe Bible go online and say things like, "You Bible readers, you Bible people, you Israelites, you got it wrong, right? The God of the Bible is not a God at all. He's an actual angel. Jehovah is the real deal, right? He's the all, right? That's who we really reverence, right? God is a lesser being. He's an angel, and God and Jehovah are two different things." So sometimes when I hear things, you gotta smile, right? Because for some things you really want to say, "No shit, Sherlock." you know, for some things you hear people say, you just really got to say, no shit, Sherlock. Like, why do people assume that everyone's view of the creator is exactly the same? So I'm going to clarify a lot of things, but I'm also going to really expose a lot of things because what I'm starting to see from the brother Selah Shalom is he is almost false advertising that he has strength in the Hebrew language. And I could tell y'all right now, I've been around some of the best Hebrew speakers and teachers world over, some of whom I don't even like. But I highly respect and value the fact that they're Hebrew teachers. Oh, yes, I do. So I'm going to tell you right now, Selah Shalom don't know no Hebrew. I'm going to say it again. Selah Shalom do not know no Hebrew. Don't let him confuse you. In fact, I'm going to show you in the debate. You see, I'm one of those people that, when you say that you are something, I'm going to sit back and be like, yeah, because we're going to hold you to that. This is what you do? You do the Hebrew thing? That's what you do? All right. So we're going to hold you to that. All right. We're going to hold you to that. So he got away with acting like he knows Hebrew when debating people who didn't know Hebrew. He got away with that. I watched him debate Tazariak. I watched him debate Judah Naz. Tazariak will tell you, no diss to the brother. He'll tell you Hebrew ain't his thing. He don't do Hebrew. He'll tell you. He'll also tell you when it comes to that Hebrew, you know, quiet as it's kept. You got to go to people like Zion Lex. Shout out to him for having said that several times. I respect him for saying that. You know, um, so you could always come across as having a skill set when you're interacting people who are void of said skill set. But what happens when you buck up on a real Hebrew teacher now, and you out here talking about you read Hebrew, right? You're gonna be in trouble, right? I'm gonna actually show the people that any Hebrew you know is remedial at best. I'm literally gonna show the people that any Hebrew you know is remedial at best. Remedial at best. I'm gonna literally expose you, right? Because I heard you say several things completely incorrect concerning the language. I literally watch you butcher things in the Hebrew language. So I'm going to expose you. I'm going to show the people that if you know Hebrew, at best, you have a remedial understanding of Hebrew. Literally, remedial. All right. So, why is that significant to point out? Am I picking on the brother? Yes, I'm picking on him. But why is it significant to point out? Well, it's significant to point out because there's a nice chunk and nugget of his argument where he likes to lord his understanding of Hebrew over the people that he's debating. And because they don't know Hebrew, it's seemingly intimidating, and those people don't know how to deal with him. So, I'm not sure if he understands this, but having a strong concordance ain't going to save you in a dialogue with me. Because what I'm going to pull out, you ain't going to be able to find in those dictionaries. What I'm going to pull out, you're going to have to really know the language. So I'm gonna really embarrass you. I just want to let them know I'm gonna really embarrass you. One of the things that people are gonna walk away from this conversation knowing is that you don't know the language like you've been professing to be. I'm gonna expose you as a charlatan. When it comes to Hebrew, from what I've seen you do, you are remedial at best. In fact, you want me to tell them, Saw? Because did you forget that you wanted to learn Hebrew from me years ago? Huh? So let me guess. Now the student's the teacher? Who'd you learn from? What you been studying? I want to know. The people want to know. Oh, this is gonna be a fun one, y'all. Let me tell y'all something, man. One thing I am is a very tactful debater. Very tactful. And one thing I am is nobody's fool. If you say you know something, you're gonna have to know what the hell you saying you know, or else you're gonna be in trouble correcting people on the language and you barely remedial in the language. You ain't even basic. You are remedial in the language. But you've been allowed to get away with it because you're speaking to people that virtually have no understanding of the language. So you've been allowed to get away with it. But god damn, I'm gonna expose you, bro. The amount of stupidity I watch come from your mouth from the language. I'm gonna literally expose you. I'm gonna pull out all of the Hebraic sources. I mean, if you really got a little bit of common sense, you might want to zoom in and look at some of the books I have on my shelf. All right, especially that shelf. That shelf. I'm gonna let you know right now. God damn. God damn. All right, let's take a look. Let's take a look at the Oasphe Bible, right? I hate to do this to you guys. I hate to even have to talk about this thing, but apparently it's a thing, right? And I just gotta say, man, this is one of the reasons why I do classes, because I just gotta say that we literally have to have enough knowledgeable men and women in our community to where certain topics shouldn't even be addressed by those who are well respected and well seasoned. Like, when you think of an army, right, you don't send your best soldier to every battle, right? A general, before entering into a space of war, he will assess the opponent and then he'll decide who's being sent, right? Depending upon who one is facing, we know who we're sending. I'm gonna tell y'all right now, the topic of the debate and the people promoting the Oasphe Bible, we should not have Zion Lex on this topic. We should literally have people that came in the Israelite community 2 or 3 years ago all over this and busting their behind. But you should not have somebody 30 years in the Israelite community that needs to come out for a topic like this. This is something for people who just came in this way of life, but still possess enough knowledge to completely eradicate this type of stuff. Like, we got to do better as a community, because when we need our big dogs, per se, for every single argument and every single controversy, that doesn't shine well on the community. I'm just speaking real. Doesn't look right in the community at all. I say this to people in my classes, right? I've said this to people in my classes. Like, we literally have to step up our game. If we always have our head honchos, dealing with fickle matters, we look crazy. Like, we literally look crazy. It don't make no sense. All right, it doesn't make sense. So I'm gonna get into the theology of the Owaspé Bible, and I want everybody to take some notes. All right. By the way, I'm aware that there's people emailing me. I'm aware that there's people sending me videos, and I'm aware that people Facebook messaging me. And I want to say to all those people, with all due respect, some of you I actually know and some of you I actually respect. Some of you I don't know, but I want to say to all of you, I really do enjoy doing my own homework. So thank you for reaching out. But I got this. I got this. I really do enjoy. I'm one of those people that enjoys doing the work. So I know you have a goodwill and a good desire to want to see, this debate turn out well. But I gotta tell you, I'm one of those people that I enjoy doing my own homework. Right? I don't want to look at your notes. I don't want to look at what you have. I enjoy doing my own homework. So thank you, but no thank you is what I'm gonna say to everybody that is flooding my inbox, my Facebook Messenger with, oh, look at this, look at that. Oh, it says this, look at that. Right? All of you who sent me those messages on Facebook, if you go to your Facebook Messenger, you'll see I didn't even open it. I didn't even read it. You're still on unread, because I'm not. I'm not even going to look at it until after the debate. Right? I enjoy doing the homework. I'm old school. All right. So this is not bigging up myself. This is not trying to shoot others down. This is me just asking people to please stop. Because some of y'all are ODing. I got people messaging me on Facebook at 3 in the morning, talk about, look at this. I just gotta tell y'all, if y'all worried about the Owaspé Bible at 3 a.m., you in the wrong community. you in the wrong community. And I don't know who your Israelite teachers are, but if the Oasphe Bible, its teachings and its teachers bother you so much that you messaging me at 3 a.m. on what I need to look at and how we need to deal with this because this is such a big issue, I gotta ask you, who the hell are your teachers that you even worried about this cult? And I really mean that with all due respect. Who are your teachers that you even worried about this cult? This is a joke. All right. It's literally a joke. And I really feel like there are people in the community that are not as seasoned as myself that should be jumping out. But apparently, we have a lot of lazy people in the community that would just rather talk about, oh, the Oasphe Bible ain't this, it ain't that, but they're not stepping up to the plate to deal with it. And I got to say that that makes our community look weak. It really does make our community look weak. And I don't know how to speak the untruth. I'm always going to speak raw. I'm always going to speak real. That's just who I am. Our community looks weak when you have the big dogs in the community coming out for every single topic. That's crazy. Like, that's crazy, y'all. Come on. We could do better than this. So, let me share my screen. Give me a couple seconds. You guys should see my screen. Keep in mind, everybody, there's a lot of people who are on this platform right now that have never been on. Make sure you guys like, share, and subscribe and hit that notification bell. Like, share, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. All right. There we go. You guys should be able to see my screen in a couple of seconds. Let me blow this up for y'all. Okay. When you guys can see my screen clear, type a one in the room and I'll start. When y'all can see my screen nice and clear, type a one in the room and then I'll start. All right, here we go. So it says the Oasphe Bible begins with this. These are the opening words. After the creation of man, the Creator, Jehovah, said unto him, that thou shalt know that thou art the work of my hand. I have given thee capacity for knowledge, power, and dominion. And this was the first era. So the Oasphe Bible opens up not with the account of creation, but it opens up with the aftermath of man's creation. That's significant for many reasons, by the way. So it doesn't open up with an account of creation, it opens up with an account of the aftermath of man's creation. That's significant in storytelling, but more on that during the debate. And it says, verse 2, but man was helpless. He understood not the voice of the Almighty, neither stood he upright. And Jehovah called his angels, who were older than the earth, and he said unto them, go ye, rise, raise man upright, and teach him to understand. And the angels of heaven descended to the earth and raised man upright, and man wandereth about on the earth. This was the second era. Jehovah said to the angels that were with man, behold, man hath multiplied on the earth. Bring ye them together, teach them to dwell in cities and nations. And the angels of Jehovah taught the peoples of the earth to dwell together in cities and nations. This was the third era. And in that same time, the beast self rose up before man and spoke to him, saying, Possess thou whatever thou wilt, for all things are thine and are good for thee. And man obeyed the beast, and war came into the world. This was the fourth era. And man was sick at heart, and he called out to the beast, saying, Thou didst possess of all things, for they are good for thee. Now behold, war and death have encompassed me about on all sides. I pray thee, therefore, teach me peace. But the beast said, Listen to these words, Think not that I am come to send peace on the earth. I am come not to send peace, but a sword. I am come to set man at variance against his father, and a daughter against his mother. Whatsoever thou findest to eat, be it fish or flesh, eat thou thereof, taking no thought of tomorrow. So let's start there. Let's start right there. Because I know plagiarism when I see it. I know plagiarism when I see it. So the Oasphe Bible was written in about 1881, 1882, right? About 1881, 1882. Some sources differ. A lot of sources speak of 1882. Some sources mention 1881. All right. But apart from that fact, here is what we also know. The Oasphe Bible is certainly not older than the Bible. It is not older than the Torah. It is not older than the Hebrew scriptures. It is not even older than the King James Bible. The Oasphe Bible is not older than the Dead Sea Scrolls. So the Oasphe Bible obviously comes much later. So let me identify something for you guys really quick. If in verse 9 of the opening passage of the Oasphe Bible contains a statement completely verbatim in the Bible, then that's grounds for plagiarism from the very outset. So let me introduce you. Verse 9 says, But the beast said, Think not that I am come to send peace on the earth. I am not come to send peace, but a sword. Let me show you where in the Bible that came from. That comes from the book of Matthew, chapter 10, verse 34. And the speaker is Yeshua. Allow me to share my screen so everybody can see. When I tell you guys, I am going to tactfully break down not only the theology of the Oasphe Bible, I'm going to point out the errors in the Oasphe Bible, as well as said plagiarism in the Oasphe Bible, as well as the Satanist views presented in the Oasphe Bible, and of course, the icing on the cake, of course, the racist over and undertone that pervades the entirety of its text. All right. So again, the Oasphe Bible said, and I just want to make sure it's on the screen again. The Oasphe Bible said in verse 9, okay. In verse 9, the Oasphe Bible says, Think not that I am come to send peace on the earth. I am come not to send peace, but a sword. Everybody can see that. Now let me show you where they took that from. Because one thing we're not going to let the Oasphe Bible adherents do is condemn the Bible, critique the Bible, and ridicule the Bible, all the while plagiarizing the Bible. Somebody, please make it make sense. Because I know I heard this somewhere. Yeshua is the speaker, and he's saying in Matthew 10 and 34, think not that I am come to send peace on the earth. I am came not to send peace, but a sword. Guys, if you can see plagiarism in the Oasphe Bible as it stole the words of Yeshua, literally verbatim, I would like everyone to acknowledge that by a show of fire emojis in the chat. Because what the hell are we even talking about? Because what the hell are we even talking about? Because one thing we're not going to let the Oasphe Bible cultists do, I'm sorry, faithists, I'm sorry, cultists, I'm sorry, faithists, cultists is all the same thing, garbage. One thing we're not going to let the garbage lights, the faithfulites, the cultistites, the Oasphe do is condemn, critique, and ridicule the Bible, all the while you got the goddamn nerve to be plagiarizing it left and right. I mean, if your Bible is more than my Bible, at least find a name for your God. From the very opening of the Bible, you stole the name of the God of the Hebrew Bible. You gotta be kidding me. You gotta be kidding me. How does that work? You critique, you ridicule, you condemn, all the while plagiarizing? Are you kidding me? This is easy. This is easy. Because I got Sar Shalom, and y'all gonna see the video. I got Sar Shalom telling you when the Oasphe Bible came down. And he says clear as day, 1881. That's his words, not mine. That's his words, not mine. He said it came down in 1881. Well, I don't even have to go to the Dead Sea Scrolls to prove that Yeshua spoke it first. I'll take you to the King James Bible just to slap you a little bit. The King James Bible is 1611. That's still before you. I could find obviously older Old Testament texts, but just to slap you up a little bit, I could even show you texts that are closer to yours, but still older than yours, where Yeshua is saying what y'all just plagiarized and stole. So I just want to ask the community really quick, what part of the game is it that a person gets to critique, condemn, ridicule, all the while plagiarizing? Somebody tell me what part of the game is that? But I'll continue. This is going to be light work, y'all. I'll continue. This is going to be light work. If you guys are enjoying the information, right? You enjoying what's coming out, thumb up the video, share the live stream, hit the notification bell, donate and support this platform. Because one thing about this platform, Zion Lexx TV, we are dedicated to defending this Torah. We are dedicated to defending the full breadth of the Bible in its full volume, both Old and New Testaments. That's a fact. That's what we do here. I don't know what people do in other spaces and places, but I let you know over here on these parts of the YouTube streets, we defend this Hebrew Bible from start to finish. And if you respect the work that we put in, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, make sure you hit the bell, get the notification, and make sure you donate and support this platform. As I continue. So watch this. So we're going to go back to the abomination book because I don't know what else to call it. So we'll go back to the abomination book really quick because believe it or not, it gets a little deeper, right? So just for clarity, right? I'm a meticulous teacher. Just for clarity, let me just again say something. The opening verse of the Oasphe Bible plagiarizes the name of the Hebrew God of the Bible. Because if this is a new revelation, and it is a greater revelation than that which is in the Bible, And in fact, you guys are teaching that the Bible is fake. And in fact, you guys are teaching that the Bible got it wrong. Then I got a question. Somebody, please tell me, because I really and earnestly have a question. If the adherents and followers of the Oasphe Bible are out here teaching that the Bible got it wrong, the Torah got it wrong, the Bible is evil and the Bible is deceptive, then please tell me, why did you plagiarize and steal the name of the Hebrew God, Jehovah, from the Hebrew Bible and bring it into the Oasphe garbage dumpster? Make it make sense. That's all I'm asking. That's all I'm going to ask throughout the course of this live stream. Make it make sense. Somebody make it make sense. Because if it's garbage, if it's useless, if we shouldn't be following it, if it's incorrect, why are you plagiarizing from it? I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why. The reason why you Oasphe bums and bumettes, because you got sisters in there too, the reason why you Oasphe bums and bumettes plagiarize the Bible is the very same way the Book of Mormons plagiarized the Bible, because it can't stand on its own 2 feet except that it stands with the foundational truths as represented and taught all throughout the Hebrew Bible. I'll tell you why you Oasphe bums and bumettes need to lean upon major parts of Hebraic theology to even formulate your book, because one thing I know is that a lie is only as valid and viable as its ability to mesh and cover itself in truth. Huh? Huh? Because I know a lie is only as valid and viable as its ability to mesh and cover itself in truth. Because if the Hebrew Bible is wrong, and if the Hebrew Bible is false, and we don't need it entirely, then you wouldn't be stealing from it left and right. Oh, we gonna catch y'all hands all throughout the cookie jar in this live stream. Y'all got some splaining to do. Salah Shalom, and the rest of your cronies and your bums and bumettes. Lucy, Lucy, you got some splaining to do. Here we go. Now, I don't like thinking of myself as the person that knows it all and nobody knows more than me, right? I'm not a follower of Oasphe. I don't think I'm the all and I know more than everybody else. I'm not a follower of this cult. But I do consider myself a fairly gifted individual, we'll say. And so, watch as I point out that this book is clearly man made. Not only man made, but made, as we already know, by a Caucasian, a European in the 1880s, right? Just 20 years shy, 15 years shy of the so called abolition of slavery. We know there were still slaves in that era. And you're going to see as racism enters all throughout the Oasphe Bible. In fact, there's some major racist themes that run thick throughout the Oasphe Bible, which tells me something about the people who are following it. Because you got to be a whole new kind of dummy to follow a Bible that belittles black people and you're a black man or black woman. But I'll continue reading through the dumpster. A man ate fish and flesh, becoming and man ate fish and flesh, becoming carnivorous, and darkness came upon him. Neither yet heard the voice of Jehovah, nor believed in him. And this was the fifth era. Verse 11. And the beast divided itself into four great heads, and possessed the earth about the man, and man fell down and worshipped them. Now, I'm not sure if you guys remember this, but the opening chapters of Genesis, literally The opening chapters of Genesis, as in Genesis chapter 2, describes a river which issued forth from Eden, a great river. And this river parted and it became four riverheads. Allow me to show you that really quick in the Bible, right? I just want to give everybody clarity, all right? Let me give everybody clarity. And context is key, so please follow and pay attention as we go through this really quick. All right. So when you guys can see my screen, please let me know. As soon as you guys let me know, we'll start. As soon as you guys let me know, we will start. All right. As soon as you guys know, we'll start. All right. All right. Everybody can see it. All right. Great. So let's put in this work as we read. It says, and a river went out of Eden to water the garden. And from there it was parted and became into four heads. Now, this is in the opening passage describing creation, right? We're only in Genesis chapter 2. So you'll notice that the Oasphe Bible, in once again attempting to stand on a firm foundation, truth, it now has to once again plagiarize that which is written and spoken in the Hebrew Bible. So look at the plagiarist comment in the Oasphe Bible. And the beast divided itself into four great heads and possessed the earth. We're in the first chapter, by the way, of the Oasphe Bible, everybody. We're in the very first chapter. And automatically, we are seeing several verses that are quite literally plagiarized from the Hebrew Bible. Like, these guys are not even interesting enough, not even valid enough with their own mind and thinking, way of thinking, that they can speak their doctrine without having to plagiarize the Bible. You see, one thing about me, guys, I am a stickler for details to the point where I gotta admit I can become very annoying to people. But that is a marvelous skill set because people who are really obsessed with details and attention, they're able to see more than others and thereby point out things that most people overlook. So I want everybody to really follow what I'm about to say. All right? Here we go. And the names of the head of the beast were Brahmin, Buddhist, Christian, and Mohammedans. So let's get a timeline really quick. Let's get a timeline. Let's go to Brahma really quick, right? And let's get a timeline. So the term Brahma is Sanskrit, right? Born out of the Vedic tradition. It is spoken of in Hindu lore and culture, but it mainly is a body of knowledge that stems from Vedic or Indian traditions. Brahma, as a deity, was once a mortal man. Was once a mortal man, right? When you talk about the date and time period of Brahma, you'll notice that in their tradition, they speak of Brahma as always being here. But as far as literature is concerned, Brahma is quite literally someone that develops into world history between the year 500 BCE to 500 Common Era. That's 500 BCE to 500 Common Era. Keep that in mind. We can say the same thing about Buddhism, right, which stems around the same time, traced back to maybe around 800, all right, to about 800 of that same period. And then Christianity, we know the first century Common Era, and Islam, we know the 8th century Common Era. So, what interests me about the timeline in the Oasphe Bible is it's set in a timeline far removed from the beginnings of civilization, right? Where we see people like the Sumerians, the early Egyptians, the early Cushites and Nubian societies, the early Semitic tribes along the track of the Nile and even into Mesopotamia, right? This timeline presented in the Oasphe Bible is far from that timeline, but not just far, but far in the direction of being closer to our era. So it just dawns on me as a person who pays attention that whomever is writing in this book is not too familiar with world history because you would expect that the creator of it all, as the Owaspé Bible is purporting that their creator is, would actually be able to speak about all of the generations and all of the spiritual and religious systems that precede all of these systems here named. But it could be me. It could be me. I'm a stickler for information and detail. It could be me. It says, and they divided the earth and apportioned it between themselves, choosing soldiers and standing armies for the maintenance of their earthly aggrandizement. So let's be clear. In the Owaspé Bible, those who follow Hinduism through the worship and acknowledgement of Brahma are considered a beastly tribe, a beastly group, or beasts. Buddhism, Christianity, and Islam, which is interesting because just in case you didn't know, this was also the dominant view of white Christian theologians, practitioners, and followers in the Old South in America circa the 1800s. They considered beastly the views of Muslims, non white Christians, Buddhists, and people who follow Brahma or Indians. Why is that significant to mention? Because around this time in American history, you have a huge influx. Give me a second, guys. I'll be right. All right, all right. So, what's interesting for me, because I'm paying attention, I'm a person that pays great attention to detail, is that during this period of the 1800s, but mainly the late 1800s, right, the late 1880s into the 1890s, there's a gold rush occurring in America, right? The west coast of America is striking gold. Now, for those of you who might not be familiar with immigrants coming into America in the different time periods, there's a huge influx of people coming from Asia, China in particular, during the 1800s. And many of them are settling in California. As they come, they're bringing their worldviews, their religions. So you have a lot of Indian people coming and settling and bringing their views of Hinduism and their beliefs of Brahma. You have a lot of Chinese coming and settling and bringing their views of Buddhism. You also have non white Christians that they hate because, first and foremost, they're racist, right? White people, as slave owners in this country, were racist. And while they allowed black people to enter into Christianity, that was only as a means to control them. But they hated non white Christians. So you'll notice again that the beast, as described in the Owaspé Bible, seemingly correlates with these prevalent groups that are encroaching America in the late 1880s during the Great Gold Rush. So, what I'm trying to say to you is the author of the Owaspé Bible, who purports to receive this knowledge from automatic writing, might clearly be representing his own bias and racist views. because during this period in America, the 1880s, you have a huge influx of immigrants from China, India, and various parts of the quote unquote Middle East who are bringing their views of Hinduism, Buddhism, and Islam. And of course, you now have blacks in the South who are now rising with the so called abolishment of slavery and becoming preachers and teachers. So, in the view of white men and women that wanted to keep slavery alive, these groups of people that purported these things were all beastly and under them. So I find it rather interesting that this notion, this idea, makes its way very conspicuously into the very opening chapter of the Oasphe Bible. And I'll continue. And the Brahmins had 7 million soldiers, the Buddhists 20 million, the Christians 7 million, and the Mohammedans 2 million, whose trade was killing man. And man, in the service of the beast, gave 1/6 of his life and his labor to war and standing armies, and 1/3 of his life he gave to dissipation and drunkenness. This was the sixth era. Jehovah, interesting, again, the name of the God of the Hebrew Bible, called to man to desist from evil, but man heard him not. For the cunning of the beast had changed man's flesh. Remember, in the Oasphe Bible, the beasts are represented by these different religions that are named here. Okay. For the coming of the beast had changed man's flesh, that his soul was hid as if in a cloud, and he loved sin. Jehovah called unto his angels in heaven, saying, Go ye down to the earth once more, to man whom I created to inhabit the earth, and enjoy it, and say ye to man, Thus saith Jehovah, Behold, the seventh era is at hand. Thy creator commanded thou change from a carnivorous man of contention to an herbivorous man of peace. The foreheads of the beast shall be put away, and war shall be no more on the earth. Thy army shall be disbanded, and from this time forth, whosoever desireth not to war, thou shalt not impress, for it is the commandment of thy creator. Neither shalt thou have any God, nor Lord, nor Savior, but only thy creator, Jehovah. Him only shalt thou worship hence and forever. I am sufficient unto my own creation. Let me stop there because I find this part rather interesting. I find this very interesting. So let me point this out. In the Oasphe Bible, from the very opening passage, verse 18 of apparently the first chapter, it says, Neither shall thou have any God, nor Lord, nor Savior, but only thy Creator, Jehovah. I want everybody to notice something. Where it says, Thou shalt have not have any God, does everybody notice that the name of God is here, or the title God is capitalized? Moderators, do your thing. You see anybody going crazy in the chat room, moderators? Y'all know what to do. I don't think I have to tell you, moderators. If you see people in the chat room coming in here disrespecting, y'all should already know what we do on this side. Don't allow people to come in here and get crazy. All right, as I continue. So I want everybody to notice something. In the Hebrew Bible, where it speaks of not serving false gods, you'll always notice that the English translators will purposely make the word God lowercase, right? Because we're not talking about the God of all of creation. We're talking about the false gods of the world. So that God is placed and written in lowercase letters. In the Oasphe Bible, curious enough, they say, Neither shalt thou have any God. And notice the G is capitalized. So I just got to tell you guys, you don't have to be the smartest person in the world to figure out that from the very outset, the very opening chapter of the Oasphe Bible, they are literally trying to take you away from the God of the Hebrew Bible. That might have went over somebody's head, so let me say it again. You'll find in the English translations of the Bible, whenever we are referring to false gods, gods who are no gods at all, you'll always find that the word God in English is always in lowercase. Now, of course, in Hebrew, we do not have that, right? There's no lowercase letters per se. So it's always going to be spelled and written the same way, the word Elohim. You won't find it capitalized, you won't find it put in lowercase letters. However, when the translators go to the English translation and they are very aware that the authors and writers of the Bible are talking about false gods that don't exist, they're very careful to make that G lowercase. So notice in the Oasphe Bible, when they are trying to have you move yourself from God, that G is capital. That's for a reason. Because from the very opening chapter of the Oasphe Bible, they're literally trying to take you away from the God of the Hebrew Bible. The God of the Hebrew Bible, who was described with many attributes and many titles. The God of the Hebrew Bible that is also given the names El Shaddai, El Rakum, El Elyon, Adonai. The God of the Hebrew Bible, who self describes himself as a savior and even tells you that he will send saviors from the opening chapter of the Oasphe Bible, they are doing away with that. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I got to talk to you really quick. I don't know about you guys, but I got to talk to you really quick. Because one thing I know about the Hebrew Bible as a ardent student and teacher and practitioner of it, the creator is consistent in his doctrine and teaching. The creator is consistent in his doctrine and teaching. In fact, the creator says in the Hebrew Bible, I, the Lord, I, Jehovah, change not. Therefore, you are not consumed, O you sons of Jacob. So, because God does not change, the Hebrew doctrine and teaching remains the same, and the children of Israel will always be here. So, when I can find deep inconsistencies in the very first chapter of the Oasphe Bible, I automatically know we're not talking about the God of the Hebrew Bible, which at this point now is deeply insulting. Because not only do the adherents of the Oasphe Bible ridicule, condemn, critique, and plagiarize the Hebrew Bible, but you literally have the nerve to do away with the teaching and representation of the God of the Hebrew Bible, all the while telling us that the God of the Oasphe Bible is Jehovah. Somebody please make it make sense. Because if the Hebrew Bible is garbage and the Hebrew Bible doesn't have truth in it, and the Hebrew Bible is discombobulated and trying to, confuse us, then why does the Owaspé Bible plagiarize from the Hebrew Bible in its opening chapter? Why does it take the name of the Hebrew God of the Bible and attach it to their God, the Owaspé God, and tell you that he's the all and that everything else is under him, and he has no relation to the titles that are born all throughout the Hebrew Bible? So I just want to let you guys know, you got to be a whole kind of stupid to follow this already. Like, seriously. Because the Hebrew Bible is replete on this one notion: thou shalt not add unto my word, nor shall you diminish aught from it, that you may keep the words of what? Jehovah thy God. The very person in the Hebrew Bible described as Jehovah is also self describing himself as our God. The very God of the Hebrew Bible self describes himself not only as Jehovah, but as Elohim, which is very and deeply interesting to me. because the adherents of the Osape or Oaspe Bible, they say, oh, God is not Elohim and Elohim is just the angels. Well, I do realize that the title Elohim can be applied to one of several things in the Bible. The title Elohim can be applied to man. The title Elohim can be applied to judges and magistrates. The title Elohim can be applied to angels. The title Elohim can even be applied to false gods. And the title Elohim is certainly applied to Jehovah or the God of the Hebrew Bible. But you mean to tell me that people are so stupid that they don't understand how to read in context what they're looking at? So that if a passage is describing a false God and it's using the term Elohim, then that should clearly tell us we're not talking about Jehovah God, we're speaking of the false gods. And when a passage is employing the term Elohim and it's referring to judges, we're not speaking of Jehovah God, we're speaking of earthly magistrates, judges as Elohim. But you mean to tell me the adherents of the Oasphe Bible, they're so smart that they have and possess a greater revelation than anybody else, but also and simultaneously so stupid that they don't know how to read within context. And this is why I say to even entertain certain doctrines in the Israelite community, you have to have a certain level of remedial literacy. To even entertain certain doctrines, you have to have a measure and level of remedial literacy. What am I saying? Unfortunately, there are a lot of people in all facets of the Black community and in many communities. This doesn't just plague our community, but in this moment, I'm speaking about our community. Unfortunately, there are many people in the Black community who are literally walking around as functionally illiterates. Are y'all hearing me? There are literally a lot of people in the Black community walking around as functionally illiterates.
I wash my natural hair and my face with the same product because natural hair care is easy. Natural skin care is easy. Don't make it hard.
To me, because the people who are proponents of this doctrine are remedial at best in even reading the Hebrew Bible, which is why, for me, I clearly understand why they don't understand what the Hebrew Bible is saying. Because your ability to read is remedial at best. And then those among the adherents and proponents of the Oasphe Bible who are claiming to know Hebrew, your knowledge of the Hebrew language is also remedial at best, which I will expose and show you during the debate. I'm going to show you that the adherents of this doctrine can barely read with sufficient context in the English language. So why in the hell would we trust anything you have to say about the Hebrew language when most of the adherents of the Oasphe can't even read in their natural language that they were born speaking, English? Because everything they're saying, I'm going to use a nice word, is stupid. Like you literally have to be a functionally illiterate, degenerate, and stupid to embrace this doctrine. There is no nice way to speak about a functionally illiterate, degenerate person. There's no nice way. You gotta call a spade a spade. You gotta keep it real. This is some sick stuff. But I'll continue. I'll continue. Because it further says, now we're in what's called the voice of man. And we're looking at the very opening passage. And I want everybody to see what it says. O Jehovah, what am I that I should supplicate thee? Know I mine own weakness or understand I the way of my thoughts. Thou hast placed before me most wondrous creations. They impress me, and my senses rise up in the remembrance of the Almighty. I want everybody to just look at the screen for a moment as I pull something up. I want everybody to take a look at the screen as I pull something up. All right. So if you're looking at the screen, you literally see that it says, and I'll read again, O Jehovah, what am I that I should supplicate thee? Know I mine own weakness, or understand I the way of my thoughts? This is man speaking. Thou hast placed me before, thou hast placed before me most wonderful creations. There are things higher than me, greater than me. They impress me, and my senses rise up in remembrance of the Almighty. Wherein have I invented one thought, but looking upon thy worst? How can I otherwise remember my Creator? Now, in case you don't know where this was plagiarized and stolen from, allow me to share my new screen. Because I'm trying to tell y'all, while they got the nerve to critique the Bible, while they have the nerve to condemn the Bible, while they have the nerve to attempt to speak ill about the Bible, they are plagiarizing it left and right. Because what you just read in the Oasphe Bible, the voice of man, literally is plagiarized from the book of Psalms, chapter 8, verses 4 through 9, where the psalmist is speaking of man and says, what is man that thou art mindful of man, and the Son of Man that thou visitest him? For thou hast made him a little lower than the angels, and hast crowned him with glory and honor. Thou madest him to have dominion over the works of thy hands. Thou hast put all things under his feet, all sheep and oxen, yea, and all the beasts of the field, the fowl of the air, and the fish of the sea, and whatsoever passes through the paths of the sea. Are y'all hearing me? I mean, seriously, are y'all hearing me? Because the first thing that I'm really trying to understand is, how does it make sense? And by the way, shout out to my brother Yahoo, who sent a donation yesterday when we had our live stream. I forgot to shout you out, my brother. Thank you. Thank you for your donation. Just want to remind everybody that's watching the video, a lot of people are saying that they don't get notifications when I go live. And I got to tell you, that's because y'all are not hitting the like button, the subscribe button, or that notification bell. So make sure when you on this live stream, make sure you hit that like button, make sure you hit the subscribe button, and make sure you hit that bell so that you are able to get all of our notifications and you know when we're going live. Don't forget to do that. All right. Don't forget to do that. All right. Just want everybody to see again. Everybody, please, just for redundancy, when you come on this platform, make sure you hit the like button, make sure you subscribe, make sure you hit the notification bell. Make sure. All right. All right. Here we go. So they're plagiarizing from the books of the Hebrew Bible, all the while condemning it. Their plagiarization begins with stealing the name of the God of the Hebrew Bible, purporting to be the God of the Hebrew Bible, but then trying to take you away from the message of the God of the Hebrew Bible and the way in which he self describes himself in the Hebrew Bible. I know double talk when I hear it, and this got to be the worst double talk I ever seen in my life. The very worst display of double talk I have ever seen in my life. The Oasphe Bible purports that the God that's speaking is Jehovah, the God of the Hebrew Bible. Then it tells you that he's not God. In fact, don't use that title. He's not Lord. In fact, don't use that title. He's not the Savior. In fact, don't use that title. I'm not sure about y'all, but I'm never jacking the Oasphe Bible. Never. Never. Because one thing I have enough common sense to do is know when somebody lying. The Creator says in the Hebrew Bible, I, the Lord, change not. The very opening sentence of the Ten Commandments reads, Anoki Jehovah or Jehovah Elohecha. I am the Lord thy God. Why would he tell us through a white man whose family enslaved black people, the Israelites, that we should no longer acknowledge him as the Lord our God, but just acknowledge him as Jehovah? I'm going to tell y'all right now, and I'm not sure what language I'm going to use to be able to say this, but I'm going to tell you right now, I'm not following no white man in his idea of who the God of the Hebrew Bible is and how he should be properly represented. I will never be so dumb, so low, and so degenerate as a black man and as an Israelite to take the word of a white man whose ancestors kidnapped and enslaved my people, black people, the Israelites, and allow that white man to tell me that my Israelite ancestors, my black ancestors, got it wrong. I'm sorry. If I'm listening to anybody, it surely will be the son, the child of the very people that kidnapped and enslaved the Israelites and the black people that were brought to America via the transatlantic slave trade. Y'all better talk to me. I mean, let me do something real quick for you guys, because these Negroes is out of pocket. These Negroes is out of pocket. So let me do something real quick, because I'm trying to understand, and I need somebody to make it make sense. I'm trying to understand, and I need somebody to make it make sense. How in the hell does this colonizer, we gonna call it what it is, how in the hell does this colonizer get to tell me, my family, my descendants, and my people, that my family that were inspired to write down the Hebrew Bible that God spoke through, that this bastard agrees God spoke to, that my ancestors got it wrong and he got it right, all the while he is literally the son of people that kidnapped and enslaved our people and got the nerve to tell us that on top of the fact that they consider us as degenerate, on top of the fact that this bastard colonizer in his books regards black people as being degenerate, is also going to tell us that our black ancestors that wrote this Bible got it wrong. I'm going to tell y'all right now. I'm going to tell y'all right now. Ain't no way. Ain't no way I'm trading in what my ancestors wrote for what this bastard colonizer is trying to tell me is better. Ain't no way. Ain't no way in hell this bastard colonizer is going to tell me that my black Israelite ancestors got this wrong, and he, you know, right is right, got it right. And you Negroes, you niggas that follow him are just as stupid, just as degenerate, and coming as a time. It's the internet. We're going to watch our words. And coming as a time, it's the internet. We got to watch our words. And coming as a time when Negroes like you, there's ways that you get dealt with. because even in American society, there's something called treason. Even in American society, even in societies all throughout the world, there's something called treason. There's something even called high treason. This is high treason. This is sick. How in the hell, how in the hell are black people allowing this bastard colonizer who is contemporary with the slave era? In 1881, you literally could still smell the slavery in the air. In 1881, you literally could still smell the slavery in the air. And this bastard colonizer then wrote a book to replace a book that our black ancestors gave us. And you Negroes is jacking it. What part of the game is that? Shout out to Seal of the Elect. Shout out to Seal of the Elect. I see you. I see you. Thank you very much. Shout out to Seal of the Elect. This is crazy, y'all. Like, this is literally crazy. Like, what part of the game is it that this is allowed? What part of the game is it that this is allowed? I mean, I'm not going to go into everything, but I got to tell y'all, I know COINTELPRO when I could smell it. I know COINTELPRO when I hear it and when I see it. And just like in 1881 and 1882, when this bastard colonizer was writing this bastard book, the slavery was still so palpable that you could smell it in the air. I could tell you right now, the COINTELPRO and these black people in our community that are now pushing this doctrine, I could tell y'all right now, I could literally smell the COINTELPRO in the air. Because this is sick. This is sick. Number one, if something is wrong, you don't plagiarize from it. Number two, if you're going to ridicule something, don't steal from it. So the mere fact that plagiarism is from the very outset of the doctrine is problematic. The mere fact that the very opening passage, the very opening chapter, tells us to do contrary to what the God of the Hebrew Bible tells us to do, automatically tells us not to listen to it. Because one thing the God of the Hebrew Bible tells us is that he does not change. He also tells us, do not add unto my word, nor take away from it. The mere existence of this book is an affront to the culture and heritage of the children of Israel. The mere existence of this book is an affront to the culture and heritage of the children of Israel. The Creator said, you shall not add unto my word, nor shall you take away from it. He said, I, the Lord, change not. In the Ten Commandments, he addresses himself. He self-describes himself as, I am the Lord. I am Jehovah, thy God. The Oasphe Bible says, don't call him God. All throughout the Hebrew Bible, he's also self-describing himself as Adonai. The Oasphe Bible says, do not address him as Lord. In the Hebrew Bible, he says in Isaiah 43:11, I, even I, am Jehovah, and I am thy Savior. The Oasphe Bible tells you, don't believe in saviors. Let me tell y'all something. If you don't see and realize just from the little bit that I'm sharing right now, that not only do you have to literally be super stupid, functionally illiterate, remedial at best, and a hater of thy own kind to believe in this, I don't know what else to tell y'all. Because what the Oasphe Bible is to black people in this country is what the Stockholm Syndrome was to those held captive in Stockholm during the bank robbery, where the victims began to empathize with their captors. John, John Blue Newborough, and I know he's white, Ak. I know he's white, but don't play the race card. Don't you gonna play the race card? You goddamn right we're gonna play the race card, you goddamn buffoon! The man is writing in 1881, 1882. Slavery is still so viable and palpable that you can smell it in the air. You goddamn right we playing the ace race card, you stupid fool. John, listen, guys, listen. I know he's white. I know he's white. And guys, you know right is right. Guys, I know he's right. And guys, you know right is right. Guys, I know he's right. But just listen. You gotta check the information. I know he looks crazy. I know he looks like pictures of Dukes of Hazzard and all the people in the West with the. Shut the hell up. Because I promise you, I really do hope I run into some of y'all. I promise you, these YouTube cameras won't be on. Because y'all are super stupid. Stockholm syndrome occurs when victims begin to empathize with their captors. So the black folk, the bums and bumettes of the Oasphe cult, have now empathized with the slave owner and his doctrine and his view of God, and are not only purporting and pushing this view, but telling their black brothers and sisters that this bastard colonizer that is responsible for the kidnap, grape of our ancestors, the peculiar institution of slavery, that they have the greatest revelation of God, and we should give him a try. And we should not listen to what our ancestors wrote. We should no longer pay heed to what our ancestors had to say, but we should give him a try, and we should not play the race card. I'm going to tell y'all right now, anybody following the Oasphe cult of bums and bumettes is a whole new kind of super stupid. You super stupid. You super stupid. There is no nice way to describe certain things. So we're going to call it what it is. You super stupid. And I got to tell y'all, while I might not be this harsh during the debate, I'm going to be extremely technical during the debate because I bought several of John Ballou Newborough's books because I want to understand the mind of this man that my brothers and sisters who are behaving as bums and bumettes and are entrapped with Stockholm syndrome. I want to understand what is it about the mind of this man that forced and compelled some of my remedial and illiterate brothers and sisters who are behaving as bums and bumettes to accept this strange theology from these bastard colonizers. So not only did I purchase the Oasphe Bible, but I also purchased several of his books. And those books will have to stand trial during the debate as well. Because you have to stand on what the author of those books believes. Because after all, he's the one that gave the Oasphe Bible. So I don't have much to say, guys, But what I will tell you is this: Saturday night's debate is going to be epic. All I'm going to say to the individual that I'm debating, you better get a crash course in the Hebrew language before Saturday. Because what you purporting to know about Hebrew shows me you remedial at best. You better study the Bible from a master teacher of the Bible before Saturday. Because your understanding of the Hebrew Bible, from what I surveyed, is remedial at best. And I'm even going to dig the knife further when I say to you, you even got to study your own book more in depth, because your understanding of your own book is remedial at best. Because I know people who have been in the Oasphe cult and are in the Oasphe church, and they don't weaponize the Oasphe knowledge to go against the Bible as you idiots, bums, and bumettes are doing. The majority of the faithists that follow the Oasphe cult do not weaponize its teachings to go against the Bible. While they may disagree with things in the Bible based on the Oasphe cult's teachings, they do not weaponize its teachings to go against the Bible, because after all, they know that they stole and plagiarized from the Bible, and they would look crazy trying to critique it, all the while stealing from it. But you brand new group of idiots and idiots, y'all something else. Y'all something else. And so I don't waste time. This live does not deserve that much time. I will return to my studies. I'll return to doing what I do. I'll see you guys later on this evening. We'll probably do a quick live stream later on. We have our Hebrew class tonight, understanding the New Testament via the oral tradition. Make sure you guys join in on that session. That is understanding the New Testament via the oral tradition. Also, guys, if you enjoyed this live stream, make sure you support this platform. Send a donation. Cash App, $ Zion Lexx, PayPal, zionlex@gmail.com. Support the platform, right? For those of you who are interested in signing up for our classes, you can literally look at the screen right now. You can literally look at the screen right now. All of our classes are via Patreon, patreon.com/learn Torah. That's patreon.com/learn Torah. Make sure you guys sign up, right? We are trying to eradicate these doctrines in the Israelite community that are sick, twisted, and just dividing us on a completely different level. Saturday will be just one more ill-founded doctrine dispelled. That's it, because it's light work. Shout out to my brother Maury Sean, also known as Benjamin Darwolf. He says, much love, Abdiel. Can't wait for Saturday night. Shalom. All right. So make sure you guys watch the live. Make sure you guys comment, right? If anybody is being blocked by any moderators on that live stream, make sure you guys reach out to me directly, email me. I will bring it to Soneta's attention. Hopefully, Soneta will not allow that to happen. If that happens, we will be pointing that out, right? I don't believe that Soneta would do that, but if that happens, that moderators are blocking you guys from commenting, you guys know how to reach me. You can message me immediately on Facebook, or you can send me an email. Let me know. But make sure you guys show up, show your support for what's true, whoever is speaking the truth. I'm not the person that tells you to show up for me. I'm the person that tells you to show up and speak out for what's true. So show up to that live stream, speak out, show out for that which is true. With that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this live stream. I'm going to return to my day. I hope everybody has a blessed and significant day. Do what y'all do. I will do what I'll do. Enjoy your day. Take care. Shalom. Peace to everybody.
I wash my natural hair and my face with the same product because natural hair care is easy. Natural skin care is easy. Don't make it hard.
If you want to have a better view on how the Bible looks at women in its proper context, then you should get these two books. Matriarchs of the Covenant, written by Abdil Ben Levi, popularly known as Zion Lexx. This is a masterpiece.
What we practice, we get good at. So for many people, the first thing they do in the morning is that they practice stress. They get up, whether it's the news or emails or social media, in what I consider to be a very important time of the day, they allow the environment to start conditioning their mind, and then that conditions their body. Certainly that's the way I see it. And in a view of what we've been talking about so far, of course, we've mentioned addictions, which are rife these days. How important to you is the first part of the day when someone has woken up? Is that a critical part of the day where people have to be very intentional, or can they do some of the work that you promote later on? Or do you think first in the morning is a very important part of the day?
I'm going to be really careful about this. I think there's two times the door to the subconscious mind opens up. When we wake up in the morning and we go to bed at night, and it's simple brain chemistry and simple physiology. We have a circadian rhythm. As soon as there's light, our body has been pretty much programmed that we begin to release serotonin and different chemicals that kind of wake us up. So our brain waves go from delta to theta to alpha to beta, and you kind of slide up this way, and then you're back to conscious awareness, local in space and time. When you go to bed at night, you go from beta to alpha to theta to delta, and you slide down. Now, if you're stressed, you can't stop thinking. You stay in beta, and your thinking actually is arousing the body because you're thinking about your problems. You can't slide down, right? So those 2 points in the day, when we wake up in the morning, we go to bed at night, when alpha, or our analytical facilities, are suppressed, we're in theta, we're in a hypnotic state. Mm-hmm. And the door between the conscious mind and the subconscious mind is wide open. What separates the conscious mind from the subconscious mind is the analytical mind. So as you suppress analytical facilities, you can program anybody to do anything. So then what really happens for most people before they even reach for their cell phone, and by the way, the statistics are 86% of the people in the Western world, first thing they do is they reach for the cell phone and they connect to everything that's known.
And why is that a problem?
Well, I would never tell people how to think, but I would give them information to cause them to think. So the device is reminding them of things that are known. And every person, every object, everything, every place is mapped neurologically in our brain because we've experienced it. And then we have an emotion associated with our coworker, with our boss, with our ex, with our whoever. And so the moment we start responding, now we start feeling the same way. So now the environment
is actually controlling the person's feelings and thoughts.
Yeah.
And anything that controls the way we feel and the way we think, we're victims to. So something's programming us to think and feel a certain way. There's nothing wrong with that. You should check your text, and do whatever you need to do. But the first thing in the morning, if the door between the conscious mind and the subconscious mind is open, why don't we program a new behavior? Why don't we rehearse a different way of being with our children, with our spouse, in our Zoom meetings, when we're alone, when we're in traffic? Is there a better way to evolve our experience? So if you're truly in the game of evolution, you're truly in the game, like one lifetime, one day. What am I working on today? Can I respond a different way to this person? Can I think this way instead of that way? Let me be conscious of my unconscious thoughts. Let me not be in a habit. Let me stay away from certain emotions. Let me practice feeling these emotions, see if I can maintain it. Now you're in the game. You're out of the bleachers and you're on the playing field. So it actually happens even before the cell phone. Because what most people do is they wake up and the first thing they do is the brain is a record of the past. They think of their problems. And those problems are just memories that are etched in the brain that are connected to certain people and objects at certain times and places. The moment they think of their problems, they're thinking in the past. Then when they think about their problems and they feel unhappy, now their body's in the past. And if you believe that your thoughts have something to do with your destiny, wow. And then the emotion that's associated to is now the body's in the past, because thoughts are the language of the brain and feelings are the language of the body. And how we think and how we feel creates our state of being. Now here's the problem. If you can't think greater than how you feel, and you believe that your thoughts have something to do with your destiny, and you understand that feelings and emotions are a record of the past, then you're thinking in the past, and your life will stay the same.
Yeah. So I've always been a fan of morning routines, personally. For me, I've discovered when I have some intentional time to myself in the morning, and when I don't, I'm a different person. I show up differently. My productivity, the way I am with my wife or my kids is completely different. So I've learned, and I'm now 44 at this age, I know mornings are very important for me. And sure, could I do the same thing at lunchtime or later on? Well, technically I could, but I never find time, number one. Number two, I don't think it's as powerful later, because I feel first thing in the morning, I'm priming myself to be a certain way for that day. And actually, since our first conversation, Dr. Joe, I went on your website and I downloaded some of your meditations. And I've been doing one most mornings. It's a 23-minute meditation. And I've got to say, my favorite bit in the meditation is about 17 or 18 minutes in, where you say something to the effect of, and I don't want to misspeak for your words, but it's something about, now's the time to remind yourself of the feelings you don't want to feel. Remind yourself of how you do want to show up. I love that bit, because each time for me, it's like, yeah, okay, I don't want to be like this today. And if and when this happens, this is how I want to show up. This is how I want to be. So first of all, I want to say thank you, because it's this idea that you spoke about last time, mental rehearsal. You know, we have no problem thinking about athletes rehearsing how they're going to perform. We have no problem thinking that, of course, an actor, if they want to play a part a certain way, they're going to rehearse. They're going to keep rehearsing until they're able to do it. Yet, most of us don't really apply that in our own life. We don't think, yeah, I need to be rehearsing for the person I want to be in my own life.
Yeah. The game of life.
The game of life, the most important game.
The most important game. Well, 95% of who we are is a set of memorized behaviors, automatic emotional responses, unconscious habits, hardwired attitudes, beliefs, and perceptions. They're running pretty much like a computer program. They're automatic, right? So you can think positively all you want. You can say, I'm healthy, I'm wealthy, I'm wealthy, I'm free, I'm worthy, I'm worthy. And your body's saying, no, you're not, you're miserable, right? So it makes sense that there's got to be an unlearning process. And we got to stay conscious of our unconscious thoughts that slip by our awareness unnoticed. We got to watch how we speak. We got to observe how we act. We got to pay attention to the way we're feeling. And we have to become so conscious of those unconscious states of mind and body that we don't go unconscious in our waking day. Because how you think, how you act, and how you feel is your personality, and your personality creates your personal reality. So if you're thinking the same way, you're acting the same way, and you're feeling the same way, nothing's going to change in your life, right? So then the unlearning process is as valuable as the relearning process. The breaking the habit of the old self has to happen before you reinvent a new self. You got to prune synaptic connections before you sprout new connections. You got to unfire and unwire before you refire and rewire. You got to deprogram and then reprogram.
So how do you unlearn? Because I guess if we think about addiction, for many of us, this is just living in the past. We're just repeating behaviors that we've done in the past that made us change our state, that gave us that dopamine boost. I get you can meditate, you can feel that elevated emotion with a very, very high degree of emotional intensity. But how do you go about becoming conscious and unlearning those previous patterns?
It's trial and error.
Yeah.
You got to go out. You got to go out into life and try it out. Okay, I've changed my internal state. You could have a great meditation. You can connect. Your heart could open. This happened to me. You could open your heart. You'd be amazing. You feel like the day is invincible. And you get up, and then the rest of your day, you're unconscious. The 15 hours of your day. So you're going to weigh 1 hour of being in a different state of being against 15 hours of you being unhappy and rushing and in a program. So then how many times do we have to forget until we stop forgetting and start remembering? That's called change. How many times do we have to go unconscious to the point where we no longer go unconscious and we stay conscious? That's the moment of change. Now, if you're truly out of the bleachers and you're on the playing field, and this happens to a lot of people in our work, they say, you know, I really believe that this is the truth. I really believe that you could heal yourself. I really believe you could change your life. I've seen the testimonials. I just never believed that it could happen to me. Now, this is a big moment. Now you're really stepping on the playing field. So the person who starts doing their work, they're not interested in healing. The person who's truly interested in work, they understand that the only way they can heal is that they have to change. They're not saying, I'm going to wait for my wealth or my healing to happen in order for me to feel grateful and be joyful in life. They're saying, if I feel grateful, my healing's going to begin, right? If I feel more whole, then there should be some change in my gene expression. So they've studied the content, they've studied the information, and now it becomes extremely practical. So they may have a great meditation, and we've seen this happen to many people. They sleep better, they have less pain, they have more energy, but their blood values never change. Now, they don't say, oh, I feel better, but I'm failing, this doesn't work. They say, what is it about me that's stopping this from completely healing? Okay, how am I in my waking day? The moment you begin to ask that question, you turn on the frontal lobe, and the frontal lobe is the seat of your conscience. Now, the moment you start looking at the end of your day, how did I do? This is such an important question. How did I do today? Did I fall from grace? When did I lose it? And who did I lose it with? If I had another opportunity, how would I do it differently? They'll tell you. I've seen them stand on the stage and tell their story and say, I had to start really watching myself in my life. Yeah. How I was emotionally responding to my ex, how I was emotionally responding to my financial problems. I had to really, really pay attention to that. And that takes an enormous amount of energy and an enormous amount of awareness to stop the program, right? So you forget and you go, damn, I went unconscious. Now, you didn't lose, you didn't fail, you just became conscious. Now, if you keep becoming so conscious of your unconscious states, you're outside the program. You're only in the program when you're unconscious. Yeah. The moment you're conscious, you can objectify your subjective self. So you can see yourself through the eyes of someone else. So the learning process comes from the mistake. The brain learns by mistakes and surprises. I've made enough of them in my life. It's just whether you're going to do it again. Yeah. You want to do it again, you're back in the habit, back in the routine. If you say, this is it, the next time that happens, I am not going to do that. Not for anybody else, but because those emotions actually, my response to that person or that circumstance is actually weakening the organism. Is that person, that circumstance worth it? So then it's evolution. It's evolution. The challenge then has to be met with a greater level of mind. Now, if you're just doing your meditation just because you want to please God or do the right thing or feel good about yourself, that's going to get stale after a while because it's just going to become another routine between your coffee and your shower and your emails and your drive to work, and people aren't present, right? So the familiar past conditioning is based on the past, that thought and the feeling, but habituation is the programming them to predictable future. That's the known. So if you teach a person how to find the present moment, that's where the unknown exists. And that takes a lot of energy and a lot of awareness. And yet, if you practice it, the body literally will begin to respond to the mind. It's like training an animal. It finally relaxes. And when that occurs, your response to people and circumstances in your life will be different because you overcame yourself at the beginning of the day. So I'm an early morning guy just like you. I get up really early. Why? Because nobody bothers me.
What time?
4:30-ish, somewhere around there.
And what do you do?
I get in my think box.
What's the think box?
Well, okay, what am I doing today? But I'm not going to sit down and just jump into a meditation. What thoughts before I go into this meditation am I going to stay away from? Well, what circumstances, what things I can think about later that aren't that important to me? What emotions, what memories am I going to stay away from? If I go there, I know what that's going to do. Why am I doing this meditation? What am I going to be doing? How am I going to do it? So I just like anybody who does anything really well, you get in your think box and you organize what you're going to do.
Are you doing this in bed, or are you having coffee first? Or?
I just get up, move around a little bit, do a few things, maybe write some notes down, because then I can assign meaning to the act. I can stay conscious when I'm in it.
So you do all this before your meditation? Okay.
Always. But then when I get in my play box, there's no thinking. I did all my thinking in my think box.
You did all your thinking in your think box. Is that also when sometimes we wake up and there's these kind of thoughts that are just popping up? Is you writing down a few things, is you processing them, a way of sort of quietening down the noise so that you can drop into meditation?
So let's say I have 10 Zoom meetings in one day. I look at my calendar and I go, okay, none of that, I'm going to get to all of that. This is not my time to think about the known. I know all this stuff is going to work out. I know how the Zoom meetings are going to go. Okay, but let me just make sure when I'm in these certain Zoom meetings that I'm leading with my heart and I'm being the person that I want to be as an example for my team. I want to make sure I'm communicating really clearly. I'll make time for this, that. Okay, I get all that out of the way. Well, that's all the known stuff. But when I come to execute now, what am I going to do to open my heart today? Like, what am I really going to do? When I do the breath to bring energy into my brain, what am I bringing? Like, where am I going to go to that? What do I want to experience? How do I do that? Let me just review that. Okay, then I'm going to open my focus. I'm going to go deep into nothing. I'm going to go as far as I can. And then when I get to that point, then I'm going to create. And when I create, this is what I'm going to create. So I'm not thinking in when I'm there, what should I create? I've already got that all worked out. I'm rehearsing. I'm getting clear on what I'm going to do. I'm getting clear on what I'm not going to do. I'm getting clear on how my last meditation was and how I want to evolve my next meditation. So then when I get to my play box, I'm not analyzing and thinking, because if I'm analyzing and thinking, I can't do it, right? So I get that worked out. If it takes me half an hour, I allow for 2 hours for myself. If it takes me half an hour to get very clear, and then sometimes there's disturbing things that I have to get through because there's meetings and stuff like that. But I just go, that is all always going to work out. This is you. This is your time.
It's interesting, Dr. Joe, that for many of us, for many people, meditation is almost like your pre-day ritual, right? So you meditate to prime yourself for your day, how you're going to be. But when you talk about your morning routine, you have a pre-meditation ritual.
Yeah.
Which I find really, really interesting.
Because I want to get into it. I want to assign meaning to what I'm doing. When you assign meaning to the act, you turn on your prefrontal cortex. And the prefrontal cortex says, quiet. Everybody that's not involved in this intention, settle down. So the frontal lobe will actually lower the volume to the circuits in the brain that are disturbance. So when you assign meaning to something, you get more value from it. So I just learned that if I just get in and just do my meditation, sometimes they're wonderful because I've done it enough times. But if I just drop in, it doesn't have any meaning. If it doesn't have any meaning, then it just becomes another routine. You're doing your meditation, but you're thinking about your coffee. You're drinking your coffee, you're already thinking about your emails. The brain's an anticipation machine, and we lose our free will to that kind of programming. So when I get my think box really clear, it's just like when I used to golf. I would just kind of look at where I was going to hit the ball. I was thinking about the club I was going to use, how I was going to swing, and how I was going to feel. I work it all out in my think box. When I get my play box, I've done all my thinking. Now I'm just going to execute, right? So So we've found that when people do that, we do this in our week-long events. I'll always say to the audience, all right, after we come back from the break, so turn to someone now, and I want you to have a conversation about what you love about yourself.
Yeah.
That you did really well in that last meditation. What did you stick? What felt right for you? What did you execute really well? I want you to articulate that and remind yourself, reproduce that same level of mind, install the neurological hardware by firing and wiring so you can step into that footprint and do that again in the next meditation. Then I say to them, now let's light a match in a dark place. If you had another opportunity to do another meditation, what would you bring? What would you work on improving? What would you become aware that you don't want to do that you did in that last meditation? Let's get really clear about what you're not going to do. And if you had another opportunity, what you would do. And somehow that kind of shapes the brain for the next experience for them to evolve their experience, because they're in the experience now. They're like, oh yeah, I'm not getting off the exit of my job. I'm not getting off the exit of my ex. I'm going to go straight. I'm going to just keep. You can make those turns in the beginning. It's normal. But you start making those turns, and then all of a sudden you're realizing, I'm not going to make those turns. And you drive right past the exit. I drive right past, I'm too old. I drive right past, I'm too out of shape. I drive right past, my disease isn't going to go away. There's something wrong with me. You just keep driving past those, and the next thing you know, you run into something big. So it's trial and error. I mean, this is like, it's so important for people to realize if it took them 2 years of chronic stress to develop their health condition, it's not going to go away in 2 meditations. You know what I tell them? I say, you're not that good. You're just not that good. Like, just get real here. Like, 1 foot in the quantum world, 1 foot in the real world. I'm a pragmatist. I don't want to talk about quantum superimposition if it has no value in my life. I want to talk about what it is that evolves my experiences. So if you're truly in the game of change, then you would be rehearsing how you were going to be in the next Zoom meeting if you were really off in the last one. If you wouldn't say, oh, I'm this way because of that person or that circumstance. That's that program of being a victim saying that person or that circumstance is actually controlling the way I feel and think. My response to that person is making me sick. It's actually weakening the organism. Okay, the next time I have that opportunity, if I'm truly in the game of evolution, let's see if I can stay in my heart, and the whole time I'm not going to react. That would be a victory for me. That would be a victory. So then at the end of your day, you go, I actually kind of love myself. I actually got my behaviors to match my intentions. I got my actions equal to my thoughts. I had a new experience, and it actually felt good. Hey, I'm going to do that again. And you start doing it with your children. You start doing it, opening the door for the person who's walking out of the office building. You start letting people go ahead of you in traffic. You're just cool. You're no longer in that vigilant state. Now, get enough people doing that, all of a sudden you start noticing your wife a little bit differently, or Rangan's all of a sudden starting to smile a little bit more. He seems way more relaxed and chilled. People are going to start getting relaxed and chilled around you because mirror neurons in the tribe say, hey, there's somebody doing something that I'd like to do. I just need evidence to be able to do it. And all of a sudden you start developing a community of people that start behaving differently. What's the significance of that? That's called emergence. An emergent consciousness is that everybody's behaving differently. And that is what's going to change the world,
Sorry to interrupt. If you are enjoying this content, there's loads more just like it on my channel. So please do take a moment to press subscribe, hit the notification bell, and now back to the conversation.
One of the core ideas I get from your work is that we all have a choice. We can choose and practice the way that we want to feel so that we actually start feeling it every day. You mentioned victim mindset a little bit already, and I want to talk a little bit about that shortly, because I think many people will say, I'm the way I am because of this. And we'll get to that in just a second. Before we move to that, for someone who is watching this or listening and is intrigued, and they go, okay, I understand. I've got a choice. I can practice feeling an elevated emotion. They also hear you saying that this can take time. If you spent 10 years in stress, it ain't going to happen overnight.
And sometimes it does, though.
But sometimes it can do. How quickly might someone, if they wake up and they don't reach for the phone and don't put the news on and they decide to engage in a meditation, maybe with a pre-meditation ritual like you do, how quickly might someone start to feel a difference? 1 day, 2 days, or is it realistic that within 7 days, someone's going to start to feel quite differently?
Okay, let's talk about this because I don't want to mislead anybody. Knowledge is the forerunner to experience. The more people understand what they're doing and why they're doing it, the how gets easier. And this is a time in history where it's not enough to know. This is a time in history to know how. The practical application in understanding that philosophy, that theory, that intellectual knowledge, that information, once you start to apply it and personalize it and demonstrate it, the more you can understand that, why you're doing it and what you're doing it, you get greater value out of it. So we have people that are diagnosed with serious health conditions, that are nurses, that are cancer researchers, that are physicians, that are engineers, or just a person who just really wants to understand the content. Now, it's so much easier to forget this information than to remember it. It's just, I always laugh at myself because I have to go back and relearn it again. And I think I know it pretty well, and yet I forget. I don't know why, but it's just the way it is. So when our meditations get stale, it's because we forget what we're doing, right? So the person who really, really takes the time to study instead of watching Netflix, instead of scrolling through TikTok, instead of getting on their phone and doing mindless text or whatever, they're only set aside an hour a day and I'm going to learn this information. When they sit down to do the work, they're present.
Yeah.
They understand if they feel this emotion, that they're going to signal a new gene in a new way. If they feel the other emotion, they're going to down-regulate that gene and up-regulate the gene for their disease. So now it's an understanding.
Yeah.
If I rehearse how I'm going to be mentally, I'm going to install the hardware in my brain. If I keep doing it, it's going to become a software program. I'm going to start acting that way. Okay, if I say I can't, it's too hard, I'm too tired, I don't feel good, those are the things that stop me. Okay, but what if I just start saying anything is possible? I believe in synchronicities. What if I, with my intention and attention, just really get clear on that? Would that be the new voice in my head? So now, the person who's truly present and not thinking about their shower or the emails they have to do or their cell phone or their texts or when they have to take their kids to ballet or whatever, you're going to get to all of that. The person who's truly present, if they follow the instructions, we've seen them have very significant changes. First, in their subjective experience of themselves. Like, wow, my back pain isn't fair. That's kind of weird. Or, God, I slept better last night. These small indicators are feedback to tell you that whatever you're doing inside of you is producing a result outside of you. Keep that up over a period of time, and you see instrumental changes taking place in the person. Now, another person who has had a series of traumas, been abused in some way from childhood, is facing a lot of health conditions, a lot of emotional and psychological conditions. We don't want them to heal in 1 week. We want them to work on overcoming those emotional states, and those are the victories. So sitting down in the meditation, and when their body starts getting agitated or starts getting anxious, instead of quitting and saying, I can't meditate, because that would be the extent of that person, just be curious. What's on the other side of this? Can I lower the volume to this emotion? My body's craving this emotion. Let me settle it down into the present moment. That would be a victory.
So that person with a lot of trauma, there's a moment in the meditation where they feel uncomfortable. The easy thing would be, hey, I'm going to stop. I'm going to put on Instagram. I'm going to get a coffee. I'm going to do anything else to distract me.
Right.
You're saying that's the key moment. You want to sit with that and hopefully break through that.
What I'm saying is there's no such thing as a bad meditation. There's only you overcoming you. People think I'm doing my meditation wrong. No, you're doing it right.
Even if it's difficult.
That is the moment that is going to define the person. So then the person goes, oh God, I feel really uncomfortable. I'm not a good meditator, or something wrong with me. It's my trauma, it's my past, it's my parents, it's whatever. The person who says, no, I'm going to sit in the presence of this anxiety, and I'm going to keep working with my body, and I'm going to keep lowering the volume to that emotion. Now, listen, you keep lowering the volume to that emotion, you're going to take your attention off that past problem, because you only put your attention on that past problem because of the emotion.
A lot of this is a complete paradigm shift for
the current way most of society is and the way modern society is kind of taught, whether it be at school or university. If I talk through the lens of a medical doctor and looking at the health of my patients, for many years I have said that, listen, we're missing lots of key skills as medical doctors, because what we've learned can be really good for acute problems and emergency situations, but it doesn't tend to work so well for these chronic conditions that didn't happen overnight, that they have developed because of our lifestyle. And I've said many times in the media over the last few years that about 80% of what we see is in some way connected to our collective modern lifestyles. I'm not putting blame on people. I'm just saying it's the way we are living these days is leading to not just things like obesity, type 2 diabetes, but also anxiety, depression, migraines, gut problems, low libido, whatever this barrage of problems we're now seeing as doctors is. But I've got to say, over the last few years, I've been wondering, well, yes, I still maintain that's the case, and I still want to make and help people make those lifestyle changes. But actually, I've realized it's not the root cause. It's not, I can go further upstream. Yes, lifestyle is important. If I can help people change, yes, it changes their downstream consequences on their health. But the way we think, our mental well-being, our happiness, I have actually come to the conclusion over last year, so that's even more important than lifestyle, because if we change the way we think and approach the world and respond to people and external events rather than, unconsciously reacting, well, that creates a new environment in our body where we naturally make better lifestyle choices. In fact, those lifestyle choices no longer feel like an effort, because a lot of the time, those lifestyle behaviors are simply a way for us to manage the stress in our lives. Would you how would you see that? Do you agree with that? Do you have a different perspective? I'm just very, very interested to hear your thoughts.
No, I absolutely agree with it. I absolutely do. And I think that the one thing, if it took you 5 years of living in chronic stress and what are the emotions of stress and survival? Aggression, anger, hatred, competition, judgment, insecurity, envy, jealousy, pain, suffering, guilt, shame, fear, anxiety, depression, hopelessness, powerlessness. Those are all derived from the hormones of stress. And psychology calls the normal human states of consciousness. Those are altered states of consciousness. And so then if you're living in emergency and your response to your coworker, to your boss, to the traffic, to the news, to whatever it is, weakens the organism, and you're switching on that emergency system over time. No organism can live in emergency mode for an extended period of time. You're drawing from the body's vital resources, and you're converting all of its energy into chemistry for some threat, real or imagined. Okay, so then if you keep doing that in chronic conditions, there's no energy for growth and repair.
To make sure you're taking action after watching this video, I've created a free breathing guide that's going to help you reduce stress, calm your mind, and boost your energy. In this guide, I share with you 6 really simple breathing practices that work immediately. Even just 1 minute a day will start to make a big difference. To receive your free guide, all you have to do is click on the link in the description box below.
There's no energy for long-term building projects. The immune system dials down. The digestive system becomes out of phase. Hormones change. Our cardiovascular system changes. Our respiratory system changes. This is because the body is believing it's living in a dangerous environment, okay? So the problem then becomes that the arousal of these stress hormones that create fear, that create anger, aggression, or create pain, give the body a rush of energy. Now, people become almost like an addict. They need the problems in their life to reaffirm their addiction to that arousal, to that emotion. Yeah. And now, if you can turn that response on by thought alone, number one, you become addicted to your own thoughts. And number two, you become addicted to the very life, the life that you don't even like.
Yeah.
So then you ask the person, why are you this way? And they'll say, I am this way because of this event that happened to me 5 years ago. Well,
Yeah.
what that really means is they had some really profoundly emotional experience. And the stronger the emotion we feel, the more altered we feel inside of us, the more we pay attention to what causes it. And the brain freezes a frame and takes a snapshot, and that's called the long-term memory. And so then that person then is altered biologically from that trauma, from that event. And what they don't know is every time they remember the event, they're producing the same chemistry in their brain and body as if the event was occurring. Okay, well, then you tell the person, why are you this way? Well, then they'll tell the story about how it happened. And the research on memory says that 50% of that story, the way you recount it, is actually not accurate. It's actually not the truth. That people don't have the same brain, so they embellish the story to excuse themselves from changing. And if they make it more difficult or they add more components to it, then now they'll reaffirm their identity in being a certain way. That story becomes very important to them. And they believe it, they behave it as it, and they ultimately become it. And so then can you use those same principles and begin to start to manage your inner world? And by regulating, taking the time before you start your day and say, okay, before I grab my cell phone, before I get up and run through my routine, my automatic routine where people are on automatic pilot and a habituation of what they did yesterday, and their body's dragging them into the same predictable future based on what they did in the past, and they've lost their free will to choose to become conscious to a set of automatic programs. Well, if the familiar past is the known and the predictable future is the known, there's only one place where the unknown exists, and that's the sweet spot of the present moment. So if you said, okay, let me get present here, let me remind myself of those thoughts I don't want to think, let me remind myself the behaviors I want to change. Let me review in my mind the emotions that caused me to move to a lower denominator. Let me become so conscious of that I won't go unconscious again. Let me remind myself who I do want to be, how I do want to think, how I do want to act, how I do want to feel. And let me see if I can get so good at doing this with my eyes closed when I start my day that I can do it with my eyes open. Now, this river of change, people say, I can't predict my future. Well, the best way to predict it is to create it, not in the known, but in the unknown. So our research shows that if you teach a person to go a little further than where they normally stop, when they get uncomfortable, they quit and reach for their cell phone, or they say, I'm busy, got too much to do. If you get people present, really, and you teach them how to stretch a little further, and they get beyond that known, and there's no danger, there's no threat, there's no survival, the body actually begins to relax into the present moment. And when that happens, we see this over and over again. Energy moves right into the heart. And now the heart all of a sudden starts to beat with more order, more coherence. The autonomic nervous system is no longer dysregulated from stress. It's starting to organize, and this feeling feels right? So then if you can sustain that state, independent of the conditions in your environment, then you're mastering your environment, you're mastering your life. The response most of the times, if you don't change your response to the conditions in your life, then nothing will change, including you. So in chronic stress, then the person who's living in chronic stress, they're mismanaging their attention, because when you're in stress is created by, you can't predict something, you've lost control, or you have the perception that something's getting worse. And so look at the world we live in right now. People are in chronic stress. They don't know that, but now they need the arousal to wake them up, and then they need something outside of them, their cell phone, a TV, whatever it is, a movie, a drug or drink, whatever it is, to make that feeling go away. And once you notice the change in that internal state, you pay attention to what caused it, and now you're more reliant on the outer environment. So then, is it possible then to teach a person then to create more coherence in their brain and heart? And we have data suggest that you can change your brain in 4 days and make it work better. You can make your heart, you can trade resentment, impatience, frustration for elevated emotions and train people how to create more coherence in their heart. The side effect of that, doing that every day, we've done the research, will strengthen your immune system up to 50%. Why? Because your response isn't weakening you. You're not victim to your environment.
Yeah.
So if you're not victim to your environment, then you're less susceptible to anything in your environment, large or small or tiny or microbes or whatever. So then when the person understands that, then they say, oh my God, this hatred, this fear, this anger that I've become so accustomed to, I literally have to change that. And when we do, you have to understand that the body's going to crave the familiar feelings because that's what it's used to. And this is the work. And people come to our work and they say, I think I'm doing my meditation wrong because their body's getting aroused and they're getting frustrated. I say, no, 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 no. You're actually doing it right. So now instead of reaching for your cell phone, we'll give you something to do. Settle your body back down from that emotional state.
Yeah.
Tell it it's no longer the mind, that you're the mind, and that's a victory. Then the person goes, I don't like this feeling. I don't know what I'm doing. And I want to get up. I want to quit. I want to go eat. When's this end? And they become conscious. Their body wants to move into a predictable future. And now they're going to execute a will that's greater than the program and return the body back to the present moment. That's a victory also. And if we keep doing this over and over again, then, the stronger the emotions we feel, the more we pay attention to it. So every problem, every person in your life that you have an emotion associated with, you give them your attention. So as you lower the volume to your emotions, you take your attention off your personal life. And the only way you're going to change your personal reality then is to get beyond your personality. And the only way you're going to change your personal reality is to get beyond your memory of all the associations to your personal reality. And if you're going to heal your body, you got to get beyond your body. So you got to get beyond its habituations. You got to get beyond its emotional responses. And you got to tell the body it's no longer the mind, that you're the mind. And in the beginning, it's tedious, but working with your body like training an animal. We notice that there's a liberation of energy, and the person then who goes a little further than they normally go, instead of reaching for their cell phone or posting something on social media, they're going to stick with it and be curious. What's on the other side of this limited thought? What's on the other side of this familiar emotion? What's on the other side of this complaining and judging and analyzing? What's on the other side of it? Now, there's not a lot of agreement in society that says, Rangan, you have to sit with yourself and to know thyself, to become so conscious of those unconscious thoughts, behaviors, and emotions that I won't go unconscious again. And we found out that it's the overcoming process that is the becoming process. And people continue to overcome, and then they become that other person biologically.
Yeah, I mean, this is so powerful. You mentioned curiosity. I think that's such a wonderful emotion, thought, feeling, value for us all to have and approach our life with. What might it look like if I didn't wake up and feel like this every day? Even to imagine that that's a possibility, be curious about that. I think that's very empowering. You also said that many of us have become addicted to a life that we don't even like. That has stayed with me. That is so powerful, and I think people really need to sit with that. You mentioned rehearsal, but we're rehearsing, many of us, these negative emotions. We're rehearsing stress. We're getting better at being in stress because we're practicing every day. And you're offering a possibility to say, hey, listen, yeah, it may be uncomfortable at first. We know, we talk about comfort zones, right? Go for a longer run than usual, go out your comfort zone, have a cold shower, right? Get out your comfort zone. But what your work, I think, speaks to is that we can get out of our comfort zone in our minds. So not with physical actions, but in our minds. Let's get out of your comfort zone, think differently. And I wrote down this comment on YouTube, Dr. Joe, which on one of your many videos that have got millions of views on, there was this comment at the top. I watched this video a year ago. It completely changed my life. I got rid of 15 years of depression. I lost 15 kilos of weight. I got 1,200 meters more to my Cooper test. I turned my company from the gates of bankruptcy into profit and established 3 more companies. I've not been sick once after this. I basically addicted myself to the positive. And to me, real experiences like that really, I think, speak to the power of your work. You know, there's real empowerment that you're giving people. A lot of people, Dr. Joe, may be struggling and going, okay, look, I get that. Yes, I don't like the way that I think, but I don't know how to change that. Right. So in terms of moving into maybe some practical things people can do, firstly, you need awareness. Hopefully this conversation is giving people that awareness. But if people are not aware, how can they become aware? And once they become aware, what sort of things should they start to do to start making those changes?
Yeah, thank you for teasing that out. That's such a great question. You know, my interest is to give people the tools so that they have within their reach all the things they need to begin to apply and become scientists in their life. People don't know, if you don't know that those stress hormones are addictive, then you think they have power over you. If you don't think that you can change your thought, just because you have a thought, it doesn't necessarily mean it's true. And when the moment I realized that, I was free, right? And if you isolate yourself a lot and you're not out in the world because of whatever, you'll start to believe every thought that you think is the truth. And so that challenge then of saying, okay, I do truly want to be happy. I do truly want to be healthy. I do truly want to have a life that is really empowering, that I feel good about. Okay, well, let's take a look, like, if no different than, well, you use the example of Tiger Woods, no different than Tiger Woods watching himself swing on a video, observing himself play. No different than a person who stands in front of an audience and does a lecture and watches them do the lecture. Nobody else will see what they see. They'll see themselves very differently than anybody else, and they'll see themselves do it, and they'll want to self-correct. They'll want to evolve their experience. Now, because we got this big frontal lobe, 40% of our entire brain, that's our conscience. That's the seat of our awareness. That's our creative center. When we ask the question, what would it be like to be in a different life or to be happy? If instead of getting on your cell phone, or instead of getting on your social media, or instead of turning on the TV, or instead of calling a friend, and instead of doing something to distract you from that possible answer, if you sat with it long enough and that creative center turned on, it would naturally scan the whole entire landscape of the brain, because it's the CEO, it's the symphony leader, has connections to all parts of the brain. And it's going to look out over the landscape of the brain and look at the knowledge you've learned and the experiences that are stitched in your brain that are associated with what you know to answer that question. And as it calls up these different networks of neurons, once the brain fires in tandem, you get an image or a picture in your mind, and that's called intention. You see a new possibility, right? So then, this is why I am passionate about what we're doing. I never thought, Rangan, that I would see the kind of changes in people's physical health that I've seen in the last 2 years. Now, people do the best with what they think is available. If you don't know that this is possible, you are going to make the same choice. And that may be relying on some pharmaceutical, something outside of you, some therapy, whatever. There's nothing wrong with that. But if your response hasn't changed in your life, the efficacy of whatever you're doing is going to be diminished. Okay, so once I now know that people could heal from different health conditions, and there's evidence in the science and there's evidence in testimony, like the person that you just recited, that's one of many, many people that have had that experience. When they stand on the stage at our week-long retreats, and we call them up. Why do I call them up on the stage? Because they are speaking the truth. They are the example of truth. I want people to become aware of that possibility. Why? Because if you're unaware of it, it doesn't exist for you. consciousness is awareness, right? And so then with consciousness, you can have consciousness without energy. So that thought of another possibility is a different energy. It's a different possibility. And so now, once you know it's possible, then, okay, now let's get down to stepping in the footprints that other people have left behind. Why? If you're telling the story of your past every single day and 50% of that isn't even the truth, then you're reliving a miserable life you never even had, all for the reason to excuse yourself from change. Stop telling the story of your past and start telling the story of your future. Stop romancing your past and start romancing your future. Why not fall in love with your future as much as you've fallen in love with your past? If I do this as an experiment, and you're scientifically minded, make your life the experiment. Make your life the experiment. Okay, I'm going to be uncomfortable if I start making different choices. Okay, but I'm not going to white knuckle it and stay in this unknown. What I'm going to do is I'm going to work on making my brain work better. Let's work on making my heart work better. Let's put the whole thing together and let's practice. And so then in the beginning, if it doesn't happen in 2 days, most people quit. Why? Because Amazon Prime can deliver to your door in a day, and you're used to that kind of entitlement of convenience. Creating really and making change, if it took you 5 years to develop this health condition, it may take you a little time to uncreate it. But what you're looking for is those small, subtle shifts in your life and in your body. Once you start seeing those changes take place, now you're more invested. And you can't believe in a new future without believing in yourself. And you can't believe in yourself without believing in a new future. You have to choose yourself every single day. So the person when the drugs and everything else wasn't working, they were their own resource, and they understood that this was their medicine. And so every day they said, how did I do at the end of my day? When did I fall from grace? When did I go unconscious? When did I return back to the old me? Let me rehearse it. Tomorrow, I want to evolve my experience. And it was no longer about healing. It was about changing. And they stand on the stage and they say, oh, God, I just realized that I have to work on this more with my eyes open. I have to stay in this emotional state. I have to keep the vision alive in my mind. And it's so much easier to forget that vision of your future than to remember it. And it takes repetition and practice. And there is a very strong change that goes on when people start making the efforts. So simple thing to do, wake up in the morning, before you reach for your cell phone, ask yourself, who do I no longer want to be? Let me write down the thoughts today. Let me become so conscious of this is horrible, I hate my life. Let's just stop that thought, because that thought is going to produce a chemical that's going to signal your body to feel a certain way. Let's become aware of how I behave. Write down 2 behaviors. Do I complain? Do I blame? Do I rush? Write them down and just commit them. Review them in your mind. What emotions do I want to no longer feel today, or at least stay conscious of? Do I feel sadness? Do I feel suffering? Do I feel fear? Do I feel anxiety? Let me just become conscious of those. And if I start feeling that, I just want to become aware and see if I can change it. Okay, what do I want to change to? When I feel that, let me think this way. Let me review that. Let me review how I'm going to behave. Let me rehearse it in my mind. Let me teach my body emotionally. I want to be able to feel this feeling over and over again so well. I'll keep practice feeling it till I can feel it on command. Wow. Now that's greatness. That's getting out of the bleachers and getting on the playing field. And it's not going to be a linear process. But catching yourself, and when it matters the most is when it's the hardest. That's when it matters the most.
Yeah, I mean, just wonderful, right? Wonderful hearing you speak with such passion. I love that idea that we should be our own experiment, because what I'm hearing is, listen, there's no side effects there. Well, there's no negative side effects there. Try it, right? Try it. There's no downside to trying to change the way that you think and practicing it and developing it like a skill. I think that's the thing for me. This is a skill that you can practice, you can get better at. Just as if you get, you practice running, you may get faster and run for further distances. Well, let's also practice thinking in a different way. So I thought that was really important for people to have in the front of their minds. I practice on myself. I am in my early 40s and genuinely have never felt this good, Dr. Joe. Calm, content, happy, I know I'm responsible for my emotions and my thoughts. So I've now trained probably over 5 or 6 years to get to the point now where external events just I don't allow them anymore to influence my state. And what you said about it not being linear. Yeah, I have a daily practice, a morning routine, which has a bit of meditation, a bit of breath work, a bit of positive mindsets. And you just keep showing up, you keep doing it. And then before you know it, you're in some sort of stressful, you're in a situation in life that previously you would have found incredibly stressful and gone on a negative, just like this negative mindset afterwards, which would have led to all kinds of compensatory behaviors. And you're like, oh, wow, I didn't react to that. I could see that big space between stress and response. And I want to be respectful to your time, but I'd love to just briefly cover meditation and brain waves if you had time, because I think, again, it's really helpful for people to understand that.
Okay, well, let's demystify it. I looked it up. I looked up the symbol. What does that symbol that represents meditation mean? And the actual translation of the word means to become familiar with. That's what it means. So then when you become conscious of your unconscious thoughts, behaviors, and emotions, and become familiar with them, if you can become so conscious that you don't go unconscious and you're facing off with your old self and you have those thoughts, you're in a meditation, that's a good thing, right? And if you can fire and wire the new thoughts and rehearse the new behaviors and practice trading the chemicals of survival for elevated emotions, and you keep practicing those heart-centered emotions, they'll begin to become familiar to you. So breaking the habit of the old self and reinventing the new self, unlearning and relearning is the model of change, okay? But when you're living in stress and you're living in survival and the brain is aroused, what we're doing when we lost control or we can't predict what's going to happen is we try to control and predict everything in our life. And the arousal of the stress hormones causes our brain to move in these brainwave states called high beta. Now, we're talking right now and we're in low level beta. We're in beta. And beta is conscious awareness. So we're aware that we're local in a body. We're occupying a body in space and time, in an environment and time. And the sensory system is picking up all this vital information through our senses from the environment. And beta brainwaves happen to create coherence between our inner world and our outer world. No problem there. If I said, oh, there'll be at dinner tonight, and I'm going to invite you, there'll be 10 people there, and please just remember all their names. Your brain would kind of pick up into like a mid-range beta state. It's not a bad stress. It's just that you got to get a little bit, the light bulb gets a little brighter. You got to get a little bit more aware, a little bit more awake. But when you're frustrated, when you're angry, when you're impatient, when you're resentful, when you're fearful, you're in these high beta brainwave patterns. And then that high beta is the alarm, it's the alert, it's emergency, there's a threat, there's a danger. So we shift our attention from one person, to another problem, to another meeting, to another thing, to another place, to the past. And every one of those circuits in our brain that are associated with everything we know in our life starts to light up out of order, like a lightning storm in the cloud, because our attention is shifting. Turns out the brain starts firing very incoherently, and we over-focus on things. Why? Because we don't want them to happen again. And so the arousal causes this incoherence in the brain. When the brain is incoherent, we're incoherent. And the person in survival, the primitive system is saying, focus on matter, narrow your focus on the danger, focus on something material. And why does that happen? Because the sense is heightened and we become materialists. So you're not going to be thinking about anything else. If something's rustling in the bushes and it's dark, you're going to pay attention to that, right? So this kind of habituation of narrowing our focus or over-focusing becomes the common way people think when they're in survival. They think that's focus. So we said, okay, how are we going to teach people how to change waves? So what if they go from a narrow focus and focusing on objects in the material world to broadening their focus, or creating a divergent focus instead of a convergent focus, and opening their focus and focusing on nothing but space, nothing known, nothing material. And the act of sensing space tends to slow the brain waves down and start to suppress the analytical mind. When you're in survival, you're in stress, you're overly analytical. And our research shows that if you're analyzing yourself, and you're analyzing the problems in your life within that aroused emotional state, 100% of the time you'll make your brain worse. You'll drive it further into those high beta states. And that's like driving your sports car in first gear on the freeway. It just won't work in time. So as you broaden your focus and you sense nothing, the act of sensing and feeling causes you to stop analyzing and thinking, and your brain waves start to go down into a slower brainwave state, and you get past the analytical mind and you move into what's called alpha brainwaves. Now, alpha brainwaves, in beta, your outer world is more real than your inner world. In alpha, your inner world starts becoming more real than the outer world. And the voice in your head, that default that's talking to you all the time, tends to shut off, and the brain starts to imagine. It starts to see images and pictures. That's alpha. It's an imaginary state. It's a creative state. But when you're sensing space, what happens that's so unique is those different compartments of the brain that were subdivided. When the person is sensing space, not only moves into alpha, the brain starts to synchronize. The different communities of neurons that were firing out of order start to resonate in coherence and order, and the front of the brain is starting to resonate with both sides of the brain, and all of a sudden you're seeing more community of neurons coming together, and what syncs in the brain links in the brain. Now, when the person has coherent alpha brainwave patterns, now all of a sudden the brain becomes more integrated, and they can start to hold an image and focus or dream or imagine. We all do this when we're driving in the car on the freeway, okay? There's nothing wrong with that. But then if you can get your body to relax even further so that it's in a light sleep, that it feels so safe that it could actually rest in a light sleep while you're conscious and awake, relaxed and awake, you're in a brainwave pattern called theta. Now, in theta, lights go out in the thinking neocortex. The memory bank, the autobiographical self, is literally shut off. Your connection to the environment, to your body and to time literally changes. If lights go out in the neocortex, then you get beyond your identity. And we see then, when a person's in theta, the door between the conscious mind and the subconscious mind is wide open to information. And when you get beyond the analytical mind, then you open door between the conscious mind and the subconscious mind. That's what separates it, the analytical mind. Now you're suggestible to the information. You're in a hypnotic state, and you can rewrite a program. You can rewrite a new script. You can change the way you behave. You can change the way you can reprogram yourself to do something differently. And you can't do it in high beta because you're not in the operating system. You got to get beyond the conscious mind into the subconscious mind to rewrite those programs. So teaching people how to regulate and change their brainwaves is an important element. But what about the heart? Because to create a new future, it requires a clear intention and an elevated emotion. It is the fundamental quality of brain and heart coherence. So then can you practice breathing through your heart and practice regulating your heart and practice bringing up these elevated emotions and feel it with your heart? And our data suggests that if you place your attention on your heart and you just do that for a few minutes, you'll actually give the heart a very low frequency. And that very low frequency is indigenous to the energy of the heart. So the heart starts building a little energetic field. Once that happens, the heart will inform the brain through the afferent fibers. They'll say, it's time to create, or it's safe to create. And when the heart gets coherent, it sends a very profound signal, like grabbing a big sheet and giving it a little whip. There's a wave of energy that goes to the brain, and all of a sudden you see the heart and the brain start synchronizing. And now we're in a creative state. And the heart produces an external magnetic field that's up to 3 meters wide. And now we start feeling more whole. Now we feel like our future has already happened, and we're no longer looking for it. Why would we look for it if it felt like it already happened? And we're really relaxing into the present moment. So teaching people how to regulate their brain waves and move into these slower frequencies, people get really good at it. And we have the data that suggests you could be 91, you could be 7 years old, you could have a disease, you could not have a disease, you could eat gluten, not eat gluten, you could eat meat, you could drink wine, you could smoke cigarettes. It doesn't matter. It's just people, once they learn the skill on how to change their brain waves, they can open the door between the conscious mind and the subconscious mind. But intention is not enough. Intention is the directive. It's like the electrical charge in the field. The elevated emotion is the magnetic charge. It's what feels like the future has already happened for us. So brain and heart coherence, when you do that together, in a sense, you have a Wi-Fi signal. The body's emitting information and energy. And so we teach that as a way for people to really practice getting beyond their analytical facilities. And when they're able to do that, as we said over and over in this talk, it just becomes natural. It just becomes automatic. It just becomes a skill.
I know you and your team teach a lot of these methods and meditations at retreats in all kinds of different ways. For someone who feels inspired by what you've said and thinks, you know what, I want to dip my toe in here. You know, meditation is all the rage these days. Many people from lots of different fields are talking about it. Is what you teach a specific type of meditation? Do you feel that all kinds of meditation have value for people to at least get going on this journey of opening up to space and just stopping the analytical mind?
You know, I mean, if the environment is so seductive, you know, and if our body has been conditioned and habituated to be the mind, and we're either living in the predictable future or the familiar past, it makes so much sense to start our day to disconnect from the environment, to settle our body down into the present moment and get beyond its drives, its emotions and habits. That's the act, right? So we teach no specific form of traditional cultural religious meditation. In fact, that usually divides an audience. We look at the data. We look at the data and we look at what exactly it is that either I say or the combination of everything put together with the sound and everything that produces these elegant states. Now, there's just not enough time, but I can tell you when a person gets really, really in the zone, they hit a really transcendental moment when they get to that point of theta and they go into an arousal. But the arousal is not fear, the arousal is not pain, the arousal is not aggression, the arousal is ecstasy. They're connecting. And that's the moment where we see an instantaneous biological upgrade that goes on in the person's body. Energy starts to inform matter, and we're lucky enough to be able to catch that on different brain scans. So then it makes sense then that knowledge is the precursor to experience. So you got to learn, you got to understand what you're doing and why you're doing it. You got to demystify the process. It's got to make sense to you. That's why we have so many men in our events, because the men love the science. They're like, I'm not going to listen to my wife. It doesn't make sense to me, but she's all intuitive and feeling. But this, I can do this. It makes sense to me. So then when it makes sense to you, so then as an example, we have this little course called Formula. And the formula really is the understanding of brain and heart coherence. It's 30-minute lectures with 5 meditations. I think there's 12 or 13 sessions.
I fell asleep. My bad, y'all.